Enriched Wealth Podcast. I'm excited today to be joined by Rick from Prime Life Health and Wellbeing today as the founder, and excited to get into the episode today. Welcome, Rick. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Kris. Looking forward to the chat.
Now, I want to know a little bit about what you do now, and then we want to talk a little bit about how you got to where you are, because it's not something that you just normally fall into. I think it's something that comes from a bit of life and perspective. So what's your role at the moment as founder, and what do you do day to day? And then how did you get to there? What drove you to be where you are?
Okay, so Prime Life's around men's health and wellbeing, and
Excellent.
I work mainly with mature age men.
Yep.
To set them up for the next
Me
stage of
or
life.
older than me?
No, you're a perfect example.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah,
Yep.
I could call you mature age. So mostly men from 40 onwards,
Yep.
and to set them up for the next stage of life, I suppose, and rather than waiting until, say, retirement or 60 and health issues have come along or mobility issues come along, start working a plan a little bit earlier so that when retirement comes, you're going to be in a lot better place.
Yep, love that. And I think you're sort of working with very busy individuals, aren't you? So I know for myself, I've got the kids, got business, got all these other competing factors.
Yep.
That usually means health gets put on the back burner, or it's something that is a nice idea that you'll get to when everything else is done, and that doesn't always happen, which is, probably a concern at times.
That's exactly the case, and that's what I find quite often is I'll look after my health a little bit later, but there's too many issues I've got to deal with right now with business, family, as you said. So what we want to do is just flip that around a little bit, because if you haven't got your health, then nothing else really matters. So let's start prioritising ourselves first.
Yes.
And then building everything else around it. So
Yep.
a lot of people will say, look, I haven't got time for that. But if you really pull apart your day and what you do and what you might waste time on, you can find that extra 20 minutes or 30 minutes to start focus on your health, a little bit of exercise. So that's where we start with.
No, love that. So what drove you to be a founder for this business? Where did you come from that sort of gave you the perspective that this is something important that especially men need?
So my background is in financial planning, and I was a retirement planning advisor.
Excellent.
So I ran my business for 25 years, loved that business.
Yep.
What I did find was a lot of my clients approaching retirement were quite wealthy, but didn't really have the health and the mobility to really enjoy their retirement. And I often thought, look, if you started changing your lifestyle, 5-10 years earlier, you wouldn't be in this position now. So that's the focus that I have when I end up selling my financial planning business. That was around age 50 for me, and I was going through a bit of a life transition myself, and I was looking at what does the next stage of life look like for me. And I've always been...
So effectively, the business was sort of almost born out of your stage of life as well, too, and recognising that if you're struggling with it, there's probably other people in that same boat as well.
Yeah, exactly. So myself, I went through a period of health challenges in my late 40s, and I'm sure that was brought about by stress and overwork and not having a real good life, work-life balance.
Yep.
I ended up getting a tumour in my neck area.
Oh wow!
Thankfully, it was benign, but I really do think that was brought on by the stress and not having that life balance. So that when I got through that, it was a real eye-opener for me to say, hey, we've got to really look after our health and well-being, because if that had been in the wrong way for me, well then I mightn't have come out that well. So that was part of it, along with my own journey, but also what I could see with my clients as well, with burnout.
Yep.
Stress, and how that was affecting their lifestyle going forward. So it was born out of probably those two areas.
Yep.
I've always had an interest in health and wellbeing and fitness, so that's been through me all the time as well.
So even let's say when you had the financial planning business and prior to founding Prime Life, you yourself were still healthy but still had health problems, even though you were healthy, let's say. I think sometimes there's this perception that, well, if I'm not overweight, I'm doing all right. But I think there's more to it than that, isn't there?
There's more to it than that. It's like I was still exercising, not sure if my diet was 100% right, probably wasn't.
Yep.
But I think burning the candle at both ends was my issue there, particularly as a financial planner. Around that time, we had the global financial crisis as well, which increased the sort of stress levels as an advisor, because you're looking after clients that might be really nervous. So there's a lot of work goes into that too. So,
and a lot of emotional drain too, which isn't always considered, is it? It's almost like I'm just doing the hours, or I'm just doing but you're not always thinking about, well, what's involved in those hours? What are the extra stresses that you're taking on in those periods? Because I think sometimes we, as men, we just put our head down and keep barreling on and don't ever actually come up for breath or actually to take stock of how we're going. And I think that's where the issues start to pop up, is when we keep just barreling forward at times.
100%.
And not saying that that's not also for women.
No.
But I think men are probably not as good at talking about it. That's
true too. Yeah. So that's really how that was born. It was a passion of mine, really, to help mature age men, because I think there was a real need for that. There's not a lot of scope in that area for men, and it's got nothing to do with not working with women, but I think for me it's an idea of specialising in something. So I specialise in retirement planning. So I didn't look after young kids, starting a savings plan. I specialised in retirement planning, the tax advice around that, the social security advice, and I knew it really well.
Yes.
Same thing coming into men's health. I really wanted to focus on men's health because I've been there and I understand that. Looking at men's hormonal systems and how we can optimise ourselves going forward.
Excellent. And I want to get into a bit of that as we go along. You talk about the tumour, and if you don't mind me just talking a little bit about that sort of catalyst for you, because I think for some people, until they're in that position, they don't think about it, where it'd be great to sort of go, well, what should we be keeping an eye on prior to that, rather than waiting until we're in the hospital bed or we're in that crisis state where we go, I need to change. What were some of those things that were leading up to that event for you that sort of you were ignoring beforehand, that sort of you look back now and go, I wish I had seen the signs a little bit earlier?
Yeah, I think it was just the stress of the workload at that time.
Yep.
And other things are happening in life too, and we all have different stresses in life.
Yes.
It's just how you manage it. Now, I don't think I was managing it that well.
Yep.
I wasn't talking about it that well, as far as, again, having that focus of I can handle it myself, I'll get my head down and I'll get through this.
Yep.
So what our body says is, hang on, you need a wake-up call. That was the wake-up call.
Yep.
So what we're working on now is not waiting for that wake-up call. Let's start putting things in place now with our nutrition, with our movement, with our sleep strategies, our stress management, our overall outlook on life, and how we balance our day.
Yep.
So that now you might be busy and you've probably got a lot on your plate as well. But if you go through the whole day and not give yourself a break, it's just going to keep building and building.
Yes.
So it's about how you plan your day. You might have a real hard block of work. Make sure you take 5 minutes or 10 minutes just to step away from the desk and go outside and go for a walk, or just do a few little exercises, take a break, and then come back to it again. What you'll find is you'll come back in a better state of mind, and your productivity will increase as well, rather than trying to push through.
Yes.
So these are the little things we try and build into the day, particularly with executives that I work with and business people that I work with, in finding that extra time to look after yourself, rather than thinking, I've just got to keep pushing through. Because at the end of the day, you might say, I've been really busy. And you look back and say, what did I really achieve? Because I've been busy, but not really focused. So a lot of those areas that I look back when I was a financial planner is I just kept pushing through and not really looking after other areas of my lifestyle. So, yeah.
And I think in that, just as you were talking, I was just thinking about, especially in our Western culture, there's almost this badge of honour that we've been busy and that we're filling in every moment. And I was even listening to a podcast the other night where was a lady, she coaches on a similar idea around putting wedges in your day, where you actually have 5 or 10 minutes just to catch your thoughts, or even reflect on how that last meeting went, to help improve yourself. But in all of that, I think when if we go to the gym, we don't just keep pumping weights and then go grab the next set of weights and then the next set of weights and then jump on the bike without having these little gaps in between, because we're exhausted and we're not effective, and we're probably never going to do it as well as we can if we do put in just a 2-minute catch your breath before going on to that next thing. And I think that rhythm needs to flow through our days as well too, because we seem to almost feel guilty by taking a break or thinking that we're not being productive, where we're actually setting ourselves up for failure and probably not to be as effective as we can.
For sure. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
Really, that's the bottom line.
That's great, and a great intro into what you do and sort of some of the ideas around it. We shared a bit over email and talking as well too before today. You've sort of got 4 pillars that you see as part of health and wellbeing. So I want to dive into a few of them, and just sort of, when you see a new client, what's your sort of process around how do you engage them and things like that? No, we're not going to solve all the world's problems today, but at least a bit of an insight into what people might be able to expect, or even just be able to go, well, I probably hadn't even thought of that side of it, or considered that idea. So it'd be great just to hear a bit of that process that you sort of go through.
Well, it's good to have a framework. So the framework of my programs around those 4 pillars, and the 4 pillars are optimising our nutrition.
Yes.
Optimising our movement and exercise and how we exercise for each individual.
Yep.
The next part is rest. We spoke a little bit about rest. So that comes into recovery, optimising our sleep, stress management, so that part of it.
Yep.
And the final part is just overall lifestyle and happiness and fulfilment in life, because if you haven't got that, then the rest are affected as well. So it's about balancing those 4 pillars. Overarching the pillars is then looking at our longevity and health span and making sure we're setting ourselves up to be the best we can be in our older years. So that's how the whole framework works.
I love that, because I think I see different clients at different times, and there's always the conversation around, well, what am I going to do in retirement, or what does retirement look like, and there's almost this bit where you need to start working on that before you get there, rather than going, well, I'll finish work and then sort out what's next. It's actually going, no, start living your best life now, and then you can just accelerate that when you get to retirement. You can, work almost becomes a bit more fulfilling, because you're working towards a goal and you're working towards an ideal that you've got, and that sort of gives a bit better context, I think, as well too.
So important. You bring it back to a financial planning analogy where you're planning for retirement financially, and you want to get to a stage where your money's going to last until you're 80, 85 years old. And then you sort of work back, or what do you need to do to get there? That was our financial planning model when I was a financial planner, and probably what you guys work on now too. So what we're looking at now is on the health and wellness side of things is, where do you want to be at 85 years old? What sort of things do you want to still be doing? Do you still want to be gardening, travelling, playing golf, playing with your great-grandchildren?
Yes.
Or if and you say, yes, that's what I want to do, well, coming back to, say, a 50, 55-year-old, what do you need to do now to make sure that you are fit enough, healthy enough, mobile enough to do that? Because you can't just wait. I've just come back from overseas, and I've seen people, been in Europe and on a cruise, and you see people travelling, and you look at some people, and most of them were men as well, who are really struggling. And there is a big contrast between those who have kept themselves active and well, and those who have sort of let that go just to chase the money or things like that. And I think there's almost this thing where we think, oh, well, we'll just make as much as we can and that will solve all our problems, where actually, if you've got your health and well-being, those other things probably aren't as important and aren't probably as impactful as not being able to do the things you need to do. Like, that's right.
You'll end up spending more money on doctors and everything else just to keep yourself in a position to enjoy life, rather than actually enjoying life and making it. For
sure. And enjoying those last decade of your life in as healthy a position as you can, rather than being, sitting in a chair for it and not really being vital and energised.
Yes.
And you see that, and it's a sad place to be when you might have seen your parents or grandparents go through that. The opportunity now is do something about it now.
Yes. And
it's like the old compounding interest analogy, It's never too late to start, but the earlier you start, the better, because you can compound those benefits.
And I think too, people don't always appreciate that if you are active, it's actually easier to continue being active than it is to get that. It's almost that flywheel. To get that flywheel rolling, it actually takes a lot more effort than to keep it rolling. If that makes sense. So.
And the other important thing with exercise and movement, it's not about training hard and beating yourself up and practice. At our age, or my age, I should say.
Our age, we could. Yeah, that's.
Oh,
fine.
they're a little bit older than you, but the point is not to think that you've got to start and push yourself and then come back really sore. The aim is, with exercise and starting any exercise program, is doing something you love doing for a start. I always say one of the most important exercises is just get out and walk.
Yep.
The best way to start the day is to get out in morning sunlight.
Yes.
And walk. Because what you're doing there is you're setting your hormonal system in the right direction, your circadian rhythm, so that affects the quality of your sleep.
Can I ask circadian rhythm? Can we just unpack that for a minute?
Yeah, so your circadian rhythm is really the rhythm of your day to night. Okay, so your hormones are different at the start of the day, so your cortisol starts increasing, which wakes you up.
Yep.
And then as the day goes, it starts to slow down, and then melatonin will start kicking in around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock to slow things down, so that you start getting prepared for sleep. Now, so by getting out of bed early, seeing the sunrise, getting the sun in your eyes, your body understands, okay, it's morning, cortisol starts kicking in, and you've just got these rhythms. Similarly, when you sleep.
And I assume that's as much about getting your body ready for the end of the day as
100%.
The start of the day.
Exactly, and vice versa. At the end of the day, you're preparing for the next morning. So it's about the wind down strategy that you have at the end of the day. So we can pack into that a little bit further. So at the start of the day, the best thing is to get sunlight and exercise. So you can stack that by going for a walk. It's a great way to start the day. Whether you want to go for a walk with a podcast or just get out in nature, which I like to do, get out in nature and just walk around and notice what's going on around you. But also when you're by yourself walking, or when you have a shower, you often think that your best ideas come into your head while you're just by yourself and there's no other stimulus around you.
Yes.
That's why I like to start the day.
We do seem to pack a lot of noise into our days, don't we? I was reading a book the other day around just if you never give yourself the space to actually think your own thoughts, you won't have any thoughts. It's almost the phone's engineered to keep throwing stuff at your eyeballs rather than actually letting you stop and have your own ideas and your own thoughts. And I think
exactly.
The more we go along, that will be a superpower for people to be able to actually stop, disconnect, and actually spend time for themselves, because they will then be able to make the best decisions for not only themselves but their business or their employees and things like that as well too.
For sure. So it's how you start the day. And again, a lot of clients I work with, and we said it before, is, I haven't got time to get up and go for a walk, or I haven't got time to meditate or do yoga or whatever sort of activity you might want to do. But if you really pull it apart and say, well, hang on, you actually do.
How do we structure this?
How do we structure it? You can. Yeah. Exactly. So that's really important. And then again, at the end of the day, that wind down period is around dimming the lights, because again, it's if we go back to our ancestors and how they lived, they got up with the morning, and they went to bed at sunset. So if we're stimulated by bright lights, screens, all that sort of stuff just before we go to bed, our melatonin is not really producing, because I think, we're awake, everything's we still want to keep going.
Yep.
That's where the quality of sleep comes into a factor. So we might fall asleep, but our quality might be that good, and it's just it spirals there, because you then wake up and you're not really focused, or you haven't got that energy. So you slunk out of bed, you grab a coffee to get yourself going, and off you go.
It's almost this compounding issue, isn't it? Where the coffee then drives you to be up late the next night and then get up.
Well, true, because you a lot of times you'll find that you'll get an afternoon crash. I need more coffee just to keep us going.
Now you're on a caffeine free kick at the moment, aren't you?
I am, absolutely. Yes. Sometimes I like to have a break from caffeine for 2 or 3 weeks, just to reset the system and not be reliant on it. And not that I'm ever reliant on it, but I part of my program is with my clients as well. We're diverging a bit here, but But I think it's important actually that we look at giving our body a break from stimulants. So, I'm off the alcohol at the moment as well.
Yep.
I'll have a break from anything that's gluten, so no wheat or bread or that type of thing. And it's just it gives your body a time just to cleanse. And the amazing thing is how clear thinking you become out of that, because you haven't got those toxins coming in. So
it's almost like the difference between having a big lunch and then trying to work in the afternoon and having a break from it. And I've actually found that sometimes it's better off to skip lunch and not even have something to eat, and your brain you're actually more wired and clear thinking, and it's almost like your body is struggling to do 2 or 3 things at once. It's like, well, hang on, you wanted me to digest this food, now you want me to be thinking clearly about this, or on the ball about that. I can't do all of that at once.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a good point. And it's about, or if you're going to have lunch, choosing the right thing to have at lunchtime. So a big heavy carbohydrate meal will slow you down.
Yes.
If you had a salad with some protein, you're going to be pretty well right. So they're just little things that you can sort of add to that. But so I think it's really important to have a morning routine.
Yes.
And have an evening routine.
Yep.
Again, just that winding down and taking away the stimulus as far as the TV or the screens. Just leave that alone. The waking up period, the best thing you can do is not even look at your phone for the first hour. Just have your own time, do the walk. If you like to meditate or journal or just listen to music or read, that's the best way to start your day.
Yep.
A lot of people will start their day by looking at their phone.
Jump on the news and the emails.
No, that's exactly right, because the news is obviously mostly negative, so you're starting your day with a negative mindset. You get hit with emails, and a lot of the emails saying, oh no, what am I going to do about that? And stress starts to kick in straight away.
Yes.
Where I think it's really important.
You go from here to here rather than sort of bring in your day properly.
Yeah, the emails can wait.
Yes.
Whatever it was at 6 o'clock in the morning can wait till 8 or 9 when you get to work anyway. So, with one of the clients I was working with as well, he was so busy and was working up until 11 o'clock at night still on his computer. And I said, look, all that work, if you just stopped at 5 and 6 o'clock and spend time with your family and have dinner and relax, the work will wait. You can't do everything.
Yes.
So if you can't finish by 5:36 at night, leave it, and it'll be there tomorrow, and you can get into tomorrow.
Yes.
Don't bring it home.
And I've found too, because there's periods I go through, I'm working late at night, probably shouldn't, especially after
I got an email from you 11:22 last night, so I'm just going to I was looking at that thing, and come on, Kris.
Well, yep, okay, you've called me out. That's good.
That's just an example.
Yes, yeah, but I think I've found the days where I say I'm not going to log on at night. You almost set this deadline for yourself, and then you actually your perception around what you need to get done changes. Where when you sort of never give yourself a deadline, the work just seems to trickle on and on and on and on. And there's almost this bit where you just go, well, I've got all day and all night to do it, and it almost doesn't. It almost allows you almost give yourself a pass to give 80% at times and things like that. Where if you go, I've only got this amount of time to get these things done. It's almost like when you go on holidays. Magically, all the work gets done before you go on holidays, and there's this deadline that you go, oh no, I can get all that done. Yep. Where in the general rhythm, you don't do that. Where I think we've got to almost go, well, the weekend's like a holiday, or I've got to get it done before this time, and actually then have space to do the other things. And I still make time for family, which is sometimes I get on late because I go, well, I want to be there for tea. I want to do the bedtime routine. Yep. But there are times where I go, am I actually giving my best here, or am I just trying to catch up where I just need to come in tomorrow fresh and hit the ground running there?
Exactly. Like we go through seasons where we're really busy and we just got to pump it out. And we might have, 4 or 5 weeks where you just got so much to do. You just got to say, okay, this month or this week, I'm going to be pushing myself pretty hard to get through this. But a lot of the times you really aren't that busy that you have to do it that way. Or again, structuring your day where, like again, working with our rhythms is, we're more focused early in the morning, or our first, between 8 and 10 o'clock. So your more important work, your creative work, let's say, should be at that time. So ideally, first thing when you get to the office would be to lock yourself away. So you've got a 90-minute block or a 2-hour block where there's no interruptions, and you just your phone's away. You're not looking at anything else other than what sort of work you've got to do in that 2-hour period. And it's amazing how much work you get done by doing that, and then you have your little break.
Why is it so important to have the phone away? And I probably know the answer to this, but I'm interested to hear it from you as well.
Well, it's well, you're going to get interrupted for a start if someone rings you or texts you, but it's also that phone sitting there is an enticement that, and you'll be working on something, but your brain can see the phone over there. So I wonder what if I could just a little scroll there, and what maybe I've got a text or jump on Facebook and have a little bit of a scroll just to get that sort of dopamine hit.
Yep.
So get the phone out the road.
It's almost like having lollies on the table, isn't it?
Exactly.
And sort of going, oh no, I don't need them right now, and then all of a sudden the bowl's empty, and you go, oh,
what happened there? That's right. Yeah. So it's just about working a little bit smarter. So that focus period, then once you finish that, then you might have an hour where you catch up on emails and catch up on what that phone was doing before as far as messages. So it's like communication batching, really, is what I call it. So instead of just sort of flicking back to emails and all these other interruptions throughout the day, you set aside a time to do that.
Yes.
And then go back to another work block, and you're going to be more productive through that period. And then at the end of the day, I think it's really important too is review your day. So okay, so how did the day go? What went well? What didn't go well? What's the most important things we need to do tomorrow?
Yes.
List those key 3, 4 or 5 things, and that's all you want to list. You don't want to list 20 things because it won't happen. And then when you start the next day, you're focused and you can jump straight in rather than coming to the office or coming into work and saying, well, okay, what am I going to do now?
And then you get, in those instances, I find too, you're pulled in the direction that other people need you, not necessarily in what you need to get done, and you almost forego the things you need to get done, and they either happen at the end of the day, or you sort of you're almost a slave to everyone else's questions or needs, rather than actually going, I need to get this done today. This is important to me, and if I don't, I'm going to carry it into tomorrow and the stress with it for not getting it done.
That's exactly
well.
right. Yeah. So it's just working a little bit smarter and planning your day so that you then got some time for yourself.
Love it.
So lunchtime comes along. So instead of eating lunch at your office or your desk, you're getting out. You might go for a little bit of a walk. You might sit in a park. You might just chill for a little while. And then you come back to your office and you're feeling a lot better about yourself.
Yep.
You got more focus and energy, and you can hit it again. So that's really important.
We've mentioned a little bit about getting sunshine in the morning. You've just mentioned then about getting outside as well too. What impact does that have on mental health to actually have a walk, have a vitamin D, see the sun and things like that?
It has a huge effect, yeah. Look, there's obviously you do feel better when you're in nature. It's just a natural thing.
Yep.
There's been studies upon studies, the Japanese, that they do it every day. It's just part of their lifestyle. They seem to live a long, healthy life.
Yes.
So it really does have a great effect on mental health, because the sun, as you say, the sunshine, the vitamin D that you get from that, just the feel-good hormones that will start, coming through your body, and you'll feel a lot better about yourself. No doubt about that.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's really good. We talk about the 4 pillars. Can we just go back to nutrition for a minute? What's the impact you've seen by people changing their diet? And I think sometimes we just think it's weight, but I think there's more to it than just seeing the weight come off.
Exactly. For a start, most guys come to me. That's their number one thing they want to do is lose weight.
Yep.
Okay. So that's usually the start of it all, but then we look at those other 4 pillars and see where things aren't really working, and you can sort of,
because they almost all need to work together, don't they?
They do.
You can't just focus on one without dealing with the others at the same time. And
you don't have to be 100% at each. If you can be 80% at each, you're going to be in a hell of a lot better place, rather than being 100% in one and 20% in the others. So we try and balance it.
Okay.
But getting back to nutrition, exactly, because nutrition is where you get your energy from. It's where your protein comes in, the carbohydrates, the fats that build your body, and then also strengthens the mind as well. So eating the right things. So if you're eating, processed foods, fried foods, that's all going to affect how well obviously your body's working, but also your mind's working as well.
Yes, and I think one of the things I see is really important is that sometimes we focus on weight or we focus on how we look, but we're not actually always cognizant that if we're not showing up mentally as best we can, we're not going to make the best decisions we can for the business, for our staff, and for the way we operate as well too, and for ourselves with our financials. Sometimes I see that we talked about going travelling, and you saw those people who were struggling a bit more. You almost make more poor financial decisions because you're in a poor state of health, and because you're energy deprived, you then go and chase poor energy from other places as well too to get you back to where you need to be, rather than actually saying, actually, if I dealt with this, I'd have the energy I needed.
Exactly.
Anyway,
exactly.
So
the important part there is we're sort of trying to move from just surviving to thriving.
yes,
So a lot of people find that they're living with a bit of brain fog and low energy, and just things are just plodding along, thinking that's just normal life. Once you start just changing your nutrition around and getting a bit of movement going and getting your sleep right and managing stress and feeling better about yourself, you start getting that more energy and more clear thinking. The brain fog goes, and away you go. So with
it's almost like we normalise things, isn't it? And we forget what life was like when we were thinking more clearly, or when we did have more energy and things like that, don't we? It's almost,
that's right. Yeah. So until you flip that switch, you think, oh, gee, this is what I'm supposed to feel like, and that then gives you the motivation to keep going with that. So really important to, again, as I said, get the nutrition right. So nutrition's a tough one because there's so much out there in the media, and influencers will tell you what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, and this diet's the best.
And we haven't talked about AI before as well too. You can get them to get it to write your meal plan as well too. But I think there's a whole piece missing, which I think you'll get onto next, where it's different for everyone. It's not just It's not just this. This is the pro forma. Everyone just needs to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So people will talk about, well, paleo's the best, or keto, or vegetarian, or even carnivore diets. The big thing at the moment, where all you eat is meat. So people do well on that for a little while, but you can't continue that. So you've got to be balanced around that.
And I find too, a lot of these things focus on, like, there's almost like an immediate benefit to it, and that's what drives people to continue going, where the immediate benefit was that you cut out sugar and these other things.
That's exactly right.
There's almost this, we forget what we've cut out to be on this diet, and some of it's just the impact of that. But the nutritional bit, I think people don't always consider. Like, they almost look at, like I've heard a lot of people say, as long as you get your fats, proteins and carbs right, you're fine. I'm sitting there going, but there's probably all these essential minerals that we're not actually thinking about that we need within our diet to function the best we can.
Yeah, for sure. And that's around diversity, and getting much diversity as you can in your diet, and just eliminating or minimising the processed food, minimising the high sugar food. So I often look at it as if it flew in the sky, ran across the ground, swam in the lakes, rivers and seas, and grew from the ground, that's your main thing. Try and simplify it.
Yes.
And try and eat as much what I call one ingredient foods as possible.
Yep.
So it's not a label. You're not reading a whole lot of things that you can't even pronounce.
Yep.
That's the sort of stuff you want to get rid of or minimise.
Yep.
And just focus on what we call real food. And then to go another step further, if you can, look at organic foods and minimising the toxins and pesticides that we get from vegetables that you might buy at the supermarket. But if you're going to do that, wash them well. So they're all little things that just build up to make sure you're heading in the right direction for your own health and well-being.
Yep, excellent. No, that's really good. Talked a bit about nutrition, talking a bit about movement, and we've touched on it a bit already.
Yep.
What are some of the things that you see impacts people when they start moving and they haven't sort of thought about movement? Because we all move every day. We walk, we do things, but it's not always intentional movement, if I can say it that
exactly.
way.
Yeah. So it's when you're sort of thinking, oh, well, I need to start exercising now. So you go out and try and run 5Ks, and you come back and you can't walk for the next 3 days, or you go to the gym and you've
done your ankle and your hamstring
exactly.
sore, and then you leave it again, and
you try and you're busting your gut to think, okay, I'm motivated, I'm going to get fit, and I'm going to go to a gym and build up muscle. But if you do it the wrong way, you're going to push yourself so hard, and then you're going to be sore, and you're going to think, well, geez, this is no good. I hate this. I don't want to go to the gym now. So I think the important thing, as I mentioned before, is starting off slowly and building slowly.
Yep.
If you're going to go to a gym, get a personal trainer for a start so that you're doing it right. You're not just throwing weights around and therefore potentially injuring yourself.
Because form is actually quite, the older I get, the more I realise from some of the things I've read and dealt with different people is that the form of how you do it is just as important as the actual amount of weight. Sometimes, you know, egotistical men grab the largest weights they can, and that's what I'm going to do. Where it's almost, if you get the form right, that has a much more compounding effect, both on less injury and better results too. Better results,
and then also, as you say, with less injuries or the position of 10 years down the track, you're going to pay for it for what you're doing now. So, it's not about lifting as heavy as you can.
Yes.
And yes, the ego comes into it sometimes. But, and again, particularly as we get older, it's not about trying to bust a gut and you just want to keep the consistency up. That's the most important part, is the consistency. So if consistency means dragging back the intensity, that's fine. And then just slowly progress rather than trying to.
Because you're better off to go to the gym 4 or 5 days a week and be able to do that consistently than go once in a blue moon. And it's you sort of never build that habit then, do you?
Exactly. And it's around also the importance of daily movement, but intentional movement as well. So, for example, if we've done that work block and we're now going to take 5 minutes off, particularly if you're sitting all day.
Yes.
Is do some stretching, do some mobility exercise. You might get up and do 10 air squats, 10 lunges, even get down and do 10 push-ups. Now, if you did that on let's say every 2 hours throughout the day, you might find you've done, 80 squats for the day, 80 push-ups for the day, 80 lunges for the day. It hasn't been hard, but then you extrapolate that to every week.
Yes.
Every month and every year, but you've done thousands of push-ups and thousands of squats that meant nothing to you at the time because it was easy, but think of what that does for your body as well. So that's those sort of what we call exercise snacks, I suppose. Build them into your day so that you're moving.
And I assume this is what you go through with your clients as well too. How do we build that rhythm?
Yes.
Getting them to be accountable.
Not
knocking them over the head if they're not, but obviously driving them to want to be the best they can be.
Exactly. Yeah. So I can provide a lot of tools. There's no doubt about that. Where we start with actually is the motivational side of things. So a lot of guys will come to me, they're motivated. Yep, I want to get healthy. I want to get fit, and I always start with, okay, let's work on mindset first, and let's look at your values. Why do you want to do this? What's really important about it? Is it about looking good, or is it about really wanting to be the best version of yourself you can be for other people in your life as well? So if I ask most of the guys, what do you value most? What are your biggest values? Most will say family. So great, we can work on that. So what it is about being healthy and fit and well and just feeling good about yourself, how will that affect your relationship with your family going forward? And what does that mean to be a role model to your kids growing up?
Yes.
What does that mean for your ability to be there for their grandkids when they come along? To be relevant in your old age, I think. So, for example, for me, my partner Tammy, she's 11 years younger than me. So I look at that and think, well, when I'm 80, she's going to be 69. Now I want to be at 80 as fit as what a 69 years or even a 60-year-old is. So
love it.
These are the little things that drive my motivation.
And it is possible, isn't it? Like I've seen some quite active 70 and 80-year-olds, and they're actually quite sprightly, and you look and go, probably as old as you want to be in some
Exactly. A lot of it's around your mindset and your mindset towards aging, because a lot of people think, oh, it's all downhill for now. You have that attitude, it sticks in your mind. Your body will say, okay, that's the way you want to think, that's the way we're going to go. But if you have a positive attitude to aging, say, no, I can actually get better. I know we're getting older, there's no doubt about that, but how you age is up to you, and your attitude towards that. It's really important to have a positive outlook on ageing.
Yep.
Yeah.
We talked about nutrition, movement.
Can I just cut with the
Yep.
movement? We did speak about weightlifting. I think really important, particularly as we get older, is to do strength training because we lose muscle mass.
I'm not going to be rude, but you're not looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No.
It's not about trying to be the best beach body possible.
No. It's more about strength and building strength, and in all areas, because one of as I say, muscle loss happens quite quickly as we get in our 60s and 70s, and you see a lot of people who are pretty frail and haven't got a lot of muscle mass.
It impacts bone health and that as well too, doesn't it?
Well, it does,
From my understanding.
Yep. And then the other part of it is you'll find that a lot of deaths, a lot of heartache comes if you have a fall in your old age. Once you have a fall and you do a hip or something like that, that's probably the start of the end.
Yep.
So the idea now is at this stage here is let's start working on our strengths, let's start working on our balance and our mobility so that if you're about to have a fall, you can stop yourself.
Yes.
Rather than, the inevitable of having that fall and breaking the hip or breaking an arm or something like that. So again, these are the things that what we're trying to build in now, and that value system of what my life I want to look like when I am 70 and 80.
Yep.
That's the motivational factor, because when you start a health and wellbeing program, as I said, you're motivated at the start, but there will be roadblocks.
That will drop off, won't it?
Exactly. There will be roadblocks. And then you just say to yourself, okay, when the roadblock comes, why am I doing this? Oh, that's right.
And I assume part of your role is to help get through those dips as well, because there will be those times, and I know I've experienced it, where you get busy, or you have a week that disrupts the flow, and then all of a sudden you're 3 weeks down the road and you go, I've got to get back to that. Where having someone to be able to coach you through that, I think, is really important, because it is in those moments, those dips, that we either lose it or we make the new habits, I think.
Exactly. I think that's a really important role for a coach, is to be there to support and provide accountability as well.
Yep.
But also not to beat yourself up if you slip up, because we're all going to do it.
Yes.
So you don't want to beat yourself up and say, I had a big weekend, I drank a lot and ate all this crap, and then I've just thrown it out the window, I just won't worry about it. No, just say, okay, that's just had a little bit of a dip. We get back on the horse on Monday, and away we go again.
Love that.
And that's really, really where the value of a coach comes in, and where AI can't compete.
No, that's a good one. That's really good. So we've talked about nutrition, talked about movement, sleep, because I think that's one I'm seeing statistics more and more, and I'm probably falling into that category a bit, where rest is almost the optional extra, or it's almost what you do when there's nothing else to do. The phone keeps us up at night. People doom scroll for hours. If we look at statistics around how many hours people spend on screens outside of work, it's daunting.
Yep.
And I think we need rest. And I've even seen some statistics around having a day of rest and what impact that has on your body as well, and things like that. So I'm really interested to hear from you and your insights on when you're starting to work with a client and and they start resting properly, how that impacts everything else as well. Because I think it goes back to exercise, losing weight, being able to show up the next day to exercise and to do the best you can. So
Exactly.
love to hear some of your insights on
sleep is critical. In the old adage is, I'll sleep when I'm dead type thing. Well,
that might come a lot sooner.
Comes a lot sooner, exactly. So I think there's been a real change in attitude around that. I think 10 years ago, for example, when I sort of started in this industry, there wasn't a lot of focus on sleep, but more and more now there's this focus on sleep, because, again, it's that natural rhythm. From 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock is when your physical repair's happening.
Okay.
From 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock is when your mental and emotional repair's happening. So again, if you start disrupting that,
and that comes back to that circadian rhythm,
exactly,
doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So once you start disrupting that consistently, then that affects your hormonal systems, and then you start getting out of whack, and then that's where you're not having the complete energy and focus that you need. So now and then you're going to have a late night, or that's not a real problem. But if it's consistently you're outside of those time frames, then that's where you have problems. One of the best things you can do is have a consistent wake time and a consistent bed time, or within an hour around that, so your body knows. Again, sometimes you'll have a late night, no stress. So, for example, ideally you might say, okay, well, 10 o'clock that's when I'm going to go to sleep, or when I go to bed, and I'm up at 6 o'clock. So that's an 8-hour period. Out of that, you might sleep 7, which is fine. Like a lot of people say, oh, you need 8 hours sleep. Well, everyone's different on that.
Yes.
And even as you get older, you don't quite need as much.
The quality, isn't it, as much as
the quality? Yeah, exactly. Yep. So the quality, what we're talking about there is how much deep sleep we're getting, how much REM sleep we're getting.
Do you get people to track their sleep? Like, do they wear a watch or a ring?
One of those. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So that's
an Oura ring.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And so you will keep track of your sleep each night just to see how you're going?
Yep, I do. It's a double-edged sword. Because sometimes you wake up and you're feeling really good, and I've had a great night's sleep, and
the ring says otherwise.
The ring says otherwise, yeah, and it gives you a readiness score too of how your heart rate variability. I won't get too much into that, but that's that's right. That just monitors how ready you are for either exercise or for a busy day, or if it's low, it's maybe you might just back off your exercise. And again, sometimes that's low. I think, oh, bloody hell, I was really, really good. And you can flip the other way as well. You wake up and you're feeling sluggish and your scores are good. So I don't put a lot of emphasis on the daily ones, but I'll look at a trend over a week or trend over 2 weeks, and you see, okay, if it's trending down, let's have a look at what that might happen.
And obviously you unpack that when with your clients to help.
If my clients want to go that far and have wearables, we'll definitely do that, and I certainly recommend that. Diverging a little bit, but the other thing that I want my clients to do is have a look under the hood. So we'll do blood testing. Even do genetic testing if need be. Just have a look at what we're supposed to as far as.
So obviously there you're checking different levels. You're checking to make sure people have, if there's any concerns or things that need to be aware of as part of the process.
Yeah, exactly. That's all part of the process. But there are companies that you can go through, or functional medicine doctors you can go through, who will do a really complete panel that will then show you what are the best foods for you personally to eat. And this is where we come down to the personalisation you mentioned before. Not all diets will help people. So I think that's a really key and exciting area where we're going to, where it's personalised health and wellbeing based on your genetics, based on your blood type. So that's a lot of things we go through.
Blood type, does that...
I shouldn't say blood type. I don't mean whether you're A or A minus. I mean what your blood tells you.
Yes. Okay.
What works for you as an individual. Yeah,
interesting.
Those biomarkers will tell you that. Yeah. So sorry, I did diverse, but
no, that's all right.
If we do get back to the sleep, the importance of sleep is also that if you get a good night's sleep, as I say, you're more focused and you like to make better decisions, not only just for work-wise, but also nutrition-wise as well. I mean, if you're sluggish and you're not feeling, switched on, you might go for the high carb foods or the sugary foods just to, that's what you feel like. But it's amazing your decision making when you're feeling alert and switched on and focused on what you want.
And that's one thing I want to touch on is just that decision making process. How important is health and mindset around the decisions we make? Because I think sometimes there's almost this disconnect where we sort of go, oh well, I'm making a decision about the future, but we're not actually thinking about how we are in the moment and whether we're in the best position to make that decision. If that makes sense. Sometimes, like if you had a big night the night before and you've got to go and make a decision on a car the next day and you've got 5 choices, well, you might not be as, and I'm just using that as an example, you might not actually be as thoughtful in what the impacts are or what features you need or things like that as if you showed up prepared, alert, and aware of your surroundings as well too. So
that's exactly right.
How important is all of that to making good decisions? Because I think we all make decisions every day, all the time, and we sort of don't always give enough credence to how we are feeling when we're making that decision, or whether we should put it off to another day when we're actually in the right space of mind.
Well, that comes down to awareness, and that's really important about just being aware of how you're feeling at the time, how your body is, how your mind is. And a lot of times, as I said before, we just go through the day just plundering through surviving rather than thriving. So again, that's where you need to sort of step back and, as you said before, take some time where you actually by yourself and think and say, okay, what's going on? How am I feeling? What do I need to change? And then go from there. So that's where, again, optimising your nutrition and movement, because as I said, a lot of guys come to me to lose weight, but then I find a lot are struggling in a lot of other areas. And that could be mental health, self-esteem, a lot of other issues. So I always start with, okay, so I'm not a psychologist. So, for example, if we need to, I will refer. But I say, let's work on your nutrition and your movement, exercise. Let's work on your sleep routine. Let's have a look at some stress management techniques. And that can be just as easy as breath work. If we get all that right, I'm 99% sure that a lot of the other mental health issues, not mental health issues, but other issues that you might have, you struggling with mental health or your self-esteem, that's going to pick up because you're eating well now, you've lost a little bit of weight, you've got more energy, you're starting to feel better about yourself. It's so all other parts.
That flywheel, isn't it? It all just compounds, and
exactly.
It's all, when one area is struggling, don't make all the other areas worse or struggle as well too, because then it makes that situation almost harder. And then we just have almost this cycle of poor choices.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And on the flip side, you can have the cycle of good choices because you're in that right frame of mind now. A lot of times when you talk about choices with guys, I mean, let's say their natural lunch is like tradies, an example. Some of the tradies I've had, their lunch times, I'll stop in the servo and look at the Bain Marie, and there's the dim sims and the chips
Meat
and whatever, pies and things like that. And it's again
it's washed down with a
Coke,
iced coffee.
Iced coffee, yeah, exactly. So we start just, low hanging fruit. Let's make some better choices. If you are going to stop at the servo, there are sandwiches over there. There is mineral water you could have, and maybe an apple, and that might not be as comforting maybe, and you might have to slowly move into that. So instead of the pie, we're going to have the sandwich, but I might still have the chocolate milk or whatever. But again, so it's just making the right decisions at the time. Similarly, when you go out to dinner at a restaurant or at a pub, that's still fine to go there, but you can still have your steak, veggies, salad. You don't have to have the big parma and the chips that go with it. Again, just making small little decisions that just
help
build up along the way. Exactly.
And then you wake up the next day feeling a bit better about yourself.
Exactly.
And that helps make those better decisions the next day.
And around creating the environment, and that's, I think, at home as well. If you look at, what's in your pantry or what's in your fridge and say, okay, well, that's probably not the best. Let's start getting that out and having in your pantry more healthy foods, fruit in the bowl, type of thing. Similarly with exercise and wanting to start an exercise regime, and when you wake up, you got that decision, am I going to get out of bed and get out that door or not? Well, if you set up your routine or your environment where your exercise gear's on the floor right next to your bed straight away, the aim is get up, get the exercise gear on, don't have to worry about finding what you're going to wear, you're into it straight away. The hardest part is getting yourself out the door. So get yourself into your exercise gear, out the door, and then you'll be right. So it's again just building that environment, that consistency that you can do every day.
No, that's really good. And 3 pillars. 4th pillar is around purpose and those kind of things. So touch on that quickly. How important is that? I feel like that's almost the first pillar sometimes.
It is. I do flip it around that way. Okay. That's what I was talking about. Is what's your big why? What are your values? Why are we doing this? The other part about it is more immediate. How you're feeling in life as far as your happiness. What gives you joy? A lot of people sort of don't really focus on that.
How do you it's a bit of a strange conversation for some people to have, because we don't always talk about how happy we feel or how satisfied we are with life, or I always feel like there's always the negative, or we always focus on what's missing. So how important do you find that conversation is with your clients and actually drawing out some of those things.
It's really important. So I'd start with what do you love doing? What do you enjoy doing? What gives you joy? And it might be for people, okay, I'll ask people to list it down as well. I enjoy playing golf, love listening to music, I like reading, I like exercise, for example, love catching up with my family, mucking around with my grandkids. Okay, so you build as a bit of a list of things that you love doing.
Yes.
Conversely, you can do a list of what you don't enjoy about your day. What are the things in your day that I just absolutely hate doing, but it's just a chore I've got to do.
Yep.
Then look at those lists and say, look at that list that you don't like doing. How can I put a line through some of those things?
Yes.
How can I outsource, for example? I hate weeding, but I do it sometimes. But also, and we've got a hedge, and when I get onto the hedge to try and cut the hedge, it's like Edward Scissorhands. It's all over the place. So I'm better off bringing in a specialist who can cut a hedge, and I've got a great guy who cuts my hedge. So the analogy there is the things that you don't like doing, if you can, try and outsource them.
Yes. And sometimes it might be that rather than going out for dinner another night during the week, put some of that money towards having a gardener or a cleaner, and that actually gives you the space to cook for yourself. Or it's just sometimes we don't always rejig where we're spending our money to align with what we actually want to do, or what we enjoy doing, and more of that.
Exactly. So then that comes back to your love list, I suppose, and if you've made some time over there from your not so good list that you don't like doing.
Yep.
How can we incorporate more of the things that you love into your day? And then that starts giving you a new perspective on life, I suppose, is okay.
More motivation to get out of bed and do the things you want to do.
Exactly. So that's a more immediate sort of thing that we look at is how do we structure our day where we're doing things that we enjoy a little bit more.
Yep.
And then the more longer term approach to that is what does your life look like in 12 months' time? Where do you want to be there? Not only just on a health and wellness point of view, but have you got any goals or aspirations that you want to work towards? What about your 5-year goals? What about your 10-year goals?
Yes.
And the 10-year goals might be way out there, and that's fine. They might be quite elaborate. But the aim there is to say, okay, that 10-year goal, so what do we need to do on a monthly, quarterly basis? What are little things we need to do it doesn't have to be rocket science or groundbreaking, but just start moving towards it.
It's that flywheel, isn't it?
Yep.
It's a lot easier to run a marathon if you start just doing a bit of jogging now. It's a lot harder to leave preparing for the marathon till 2 months out and then going, I need to try and run 40 Ks.
Yeah.
Where if you've been running, it just, you can ramp that up.
100%.
So.
Yeah. So that's part of that I call it lifestyle, because we're trying to build a long-term lifestyle that you want.
Yes.
Starting with today, but also looking to the future of how you want the future to look, both on a health and wellbeing point of view, but also your goals and your values and what drives you going forward.
No, that's really good. Thank you so much, Rick. Loved unpacking some of that, the pillars, what people need to be thinking about, what people need to be doing in terms of mindset. If they're foggy, we'll include some notes in the show notes around how to contact you, how to reach out, because I think for anyone out there that's thinking, I'm not hitting my goals, I'm not happy with how I'm feeling, I'm a bit sluggish, or things like that, get onto it now. Don't leave it until
it's too late.
At some time down the point, or when you're sitting in a hospital going, I think I need to make a change. Start before you get to that. And I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to have Rick on, was because of the impact of physical and the mental that we bring to our days is crucial to our success and where we get to. And if we don't have those things right, then everything else is a bit wrong as well too, I think, along the way. So thank you so much for your insights there, Rick. Is there any take-home messages you want people to think about, anything that you think if they can just start thinking about this, that'll start them on the journey?
Yeah, I think it's just never too late to start.
Yes,
So just make a start and start slowly and start building up. I think that's really the important part. It's never too late to start, and whatever you do, just make sure it's something that you can do consistently. So therefore, enjoy what you're doing.
Yes, great, thank you. Really appreciate it, Rick. Thank you again for your insights and your knowledge. And if anyone wants to reach out, there'll be the contact details for Rick in the show notes, and we'll go from there. But thank you very much, Rick.
Thanks, Kris. Really enjoyed the chat.
Thank you.
Cheers.